Hi, this is Rob from DMEalmanac.com with This Week in Dave Matthews Band History. This week in 1995, DMB wrapped up their spring tour in California and Arizona. On May 10th, they played a noon set at Yoshi's Night Spot in Oakland that was broadcast on KFOG FM. And the 60-minute tape is mandatory listening as the band played a rare full-band acoustic set that included the first Don't Burn the Pig and ended with the benchmark performance of number 40. That night, they played the second of two nights at the Warfield Theater in San Francisco, where they played Don't Burn the Pig again, and that show is released in the DMB Live series. You can find all the radio shows and DMB Live releases at DMBalmanac.com, and follow us on Facebook and Threads to get daily updates with everything that happened that day in the band's history.
Have you ever stopped to think about the fans behind a band? What is it about the music that keeps fans coming back for more? Or is there more? My name is Renae Lipsmeyer, and I am the host of this podcast, The Space Between Podcast, the podcast where we talk about the fans of the Dave Matthews Band. Each week, a fellow DMB fan joins the show to discuss their journey with the band. Welcome to The Space Between Podcast. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Space Between Podcast, the podcast where we talk about the fans of a band that was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame just last year in 2024. If you've never listened to this podcast before, we are strictly going to be talking about the fans of the Dave Matthews Band. So the Dave Matthews Band started in 1991 in Charlottesville, Virginia, and since that moment, they have had fans that chase them. And when I say chase them, I mean like they will go anywhere they can find them because there's such a thrill to never know what they're going to play. And that's the hook. I mean, not only are they master musicians and awesomely wonderful people, they just keep throwing surprises out at their fans, which keeps them coming back for more. So every episode, I have fans of the Dave Matthews Band on the show to talk about their journey, because we've all found the Dave Matthews Band in different ways, at different times, in different paths and journeys. And so each episode, a fan comes on the show and says, this is how I found them, and this is what it's done to my heart. Or it could be totally funny. I have almost 200 episodes. Some of them are heart-wrenching, but beautiful. Some of them are hilarious. Some of them are just beautiful because someone is sharing their journey with us. And so it's always interesting how we all found this band, but we all found it at different times. And so that's what the Space Between Podcast is. I welcome everyone here. Today is like every episode. We have not one, but two guests on the show today. So it's a 2-for-1 in this podcast. So I'm going to let them introduce themselves, tell us who you are, where in the world are you, and tell us a little bit about yourselves.
Thank you. Barbara Pittman. We live in Bluffton, South Carolina, which is on the coast right above Savannah, Georgia, between Charleston and Savannah. I'm a retired school teacher who tutors on the side. That's what I'm doing right now, and following Dave Matthews.
That's a great gig.
I'm John Pittman. I'm an architect, interior designer, and custom home builder of oceanfront homes here in Hilton Head area. On the water, on the Atlantic. And I've been following Dave Matthews since 2007, I think. Yeah.
Wow.
And pretty religiously.
Yes, it can become such a big part of your life, right? And I would never use the word obsession, because that's not what it is. It's a deep passion for something that we've all found and shared the love for. So it's definitely that for me. And I know it is for you guys too. So quickly, I want to talk about how in the world we met, because I think that is a really interesting story. Not everyone has heard of the Space Between podcast. there are millions of podcasts out there. How could you have possibly found this one? It is a word of mouth thing. And so fans are telling other fans that they went on a show and someone was interested in their Dave Matthews Band journey, which if you're like me, not a lot of people want to hear that information. You have to find other Dave fans, and then it is just this flow of conversation. So, of course, I work a lot. I'm in a partnership with the Dave Matthews Tribute Band. If you have never heard of them, I invite you to look back. I have several episodes where I've hit the road with them to find out who they are as people, what their mission is with this band. And I have just fallen in love with not only what they do, what they're doing, what their mission is, but also just individually, they are amazing men, and I'm so excited to be partnering up with them and traveling around as much as I can with them. So the bass player, his name is Tim Sheldon. He actually told John about the podcast. I have no idea how that, you'll have to share that story. I have no idea how that came about. But of course, that's how I met John. And we met just recently, John and Barbara, we met in New Orleans because we were all going to be there to see our favorite band, the Dave Matthews Band. And, you know, we had each other's numbers and we met up and we kind of spent the weekend with you guys. And it was amazing. I had the best time. I'm so glad to know that I know you guys. Most of the time when I bring guests on the show, I don't know them and I haven't spent any time with them. So we're doing this one opposite. And I'm just so proud to know you guys. You're so much fun. I look forward to hearing your story. So let's get into it, right? Okay. So you guys have been married for how many years? Was it 45?
42 years.
I'm glad
42 years. Yeah.
42.
You were kind of 42 years.
Slow roll.
Yeah. So 42 years.
I keep asking every year. You know, Renae, I keep asking if my contract is up next year. She says,
till death do us part.
Well,
That's
there
right.
you go.
There's the exit.
That's right. Hey, she loves you. There's no better compliment than what she's saying. Like, I'm never going to leave you. I love you. And that's a wonderful thing. Congratulations on that many years. I know that marriage is a series of ups and downs, and not always sweet up and downs, as we know about with our Dave Matthews Band, right? But, you know, at the end of the day, we're, you know, partnership. You're two humans with flaws and perfections in different ways. And you're usually very different kind of people, but love is what keeps us together, and because love is everything. And so congratulations on 42 years. That is an accomplishment. And I hope that you know that.
Big kiss.
Awesome. Okay, so let's jump into it. I want to go back. So I know that you told us earlier you've been following the band since 2007. So I want to reverse back a little bit because we know that the Dave Matthews Band came out in 91. What were you listening to in the early 90s?
Well, you know, it's interesting. I'm going to be 67 shortly. And so I had an arrival with the West Coast, maybe the Northwest Coast sound of grunge. So I was in Soundgarden, into Alice in Chains, even down to LA with Linkin Park, and a lot of hard-edged, you know, grunge rock and roll. And then eventually I found this band as I mellowed out a little bit. I found this band called Dave Matthews Band. I started listening to them maybe in 06, 07. I said, hey, there's something here. You know, I would listen to them by myself. Barbara really wasn't on board yet. We had an RV. I would go outside, smoke my cigar, and listen to this stuff. She said, what are you listening to? I said, well, it's Dave Matthews. You got to check us out, man. And I loved, you know, one of the few bands like those 90 grunge bands that I would listen cover to cover from each album and go, wow, this is amazing material. I'm a musician as well, a drummer, and I should say percussionist, because that's what Carter is.
That's right.
And so I had an affinity with the makeup and the music of sound. And of course, our weekend together, you heard me talk a lot about the fabric, the texture, the resonance of the music itself, which is, I know it sounds kind of deep for a lot of the fans out there, but that's who I am. I'm into the essence of all that music. And so my first concert was in 2009 at, guess what? The Jazz Festival, right? I bought an RV, bought it in Dallas. I was traveling back through New Orleans to see some of her family, and I did a layover, and there they were. And all of a sudden, I didn't know what to expect. My first show ever, and Two Step starts, boom, and it blew my mind. So it's like, wow. And then from that moment on to now and in the future, I've been following it daily. I mean, literally, if you listen to Channel 30 out there, for those who know XM Sirius,
Yes.
you cannot ride with me in a car and not hear Channel 30. So it is maybe an obsession. I don't feel that way, but I like the music. I never grow tired of it. It is rejuvenating to me. It is uplifting to me. It gets me right in my mind as I approach my day.
Yes, I agree. XM is such a blessing. Today they played, I don't know, XM Channel 30 has kind of shifted in the last year, but in a great way. They're playing so many things. And today they played Crazy Easy, which is one of their songs that is so like underplayed. I love it so much.
Well, you know what happened, Renae? Again, I didn't know when it happened, but maybe 6 months ago, they were playing a lot of what would the band guys like to hear, right? So I would listen to it and I would be patient with it. And hey, let's listen to some Earth, Wind, and Fire. And I've lived a long time, so I knew all the Earth, Wind, and Fire stack catalog.
Yeah.
What I wanted to hear is they cut that out recently and started playing more deep cuts, which what I want to hear DMB 24/7 when I'm in the car. And I love hearing those deep cuts and music that I tell Barbara, have you ever heard this song before? This is the second time I've ever heard this song in 17 years, right? So that's been an epiphany for me, how they now approach the channel.
Yes. Okay. So Barbara, he said that you were not really into it when he first presented the music with you. And kind of what was your headspace? What were you thinking when you heard it?
Well, at 90, 91, I'm raising babies.
Right. No,
so
I'm with you. Well, no, I was a little
Baby Bop and Lunette the Clown and Sesame Street. And yes, I would hear the music and that's lovely, but never like made it my mission to go find out more. It was like, it's a great song in the background, got a great beat, but never like really sat and listened to the lyrics or, didn't name it yet, It was like a little stray dog out there somewhere. I was like, I'm not going to name it yet. I don't know. We'll see. I've got things to do over here. But, yes, it's out there. It's good stuff. At least it's not making my ears bleed, It was good stuff. Exactly. It was just nice to have in that background while I was in the middle of Baby Bop and Barney.
I get that. Motherhood has that thing, right? Because I would have followed the Dave Matthews Band way sooner had I not been full-time mom in it, right? But at that time in your life, it is priority, right? It is priority. And so now that we do not have children, small children or any children in our homes, it's our time, right? Like we can really dig into things that we didn't have time for before. John, I want to go back to Jazz Fest, your very first time to see them live. Now, because you're a musician and like you said, you like the fabric of the music, you like the makeup. What were you focused on or what did you hear with your musician ears?
Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is David from the Dave Matthews Tribute Band, also known as the DMTB. We are stoked to take our Keep Me Floating tour down south this May for shows in Alabama, Florida, and throughout the Carolinas. And we're going to be featuring a very special guest at our show May 17th in St. Petersburg, Florida at the Floridian Social Club. None other than your podcast host, Renae Lipsmeyer. So if you're in the Florida area and the west coast of Florida on the Gulf, come jam with us, come hang out with Renae and the DMTB, and we'll see you on the road.
Well, it's all about the composition to me. So it gets a little deep for me, but I like the lyrics and then how the poetry of those lyrics are then composed with the musicality of itself and then how that's presented. And I guess for me, knowing, Carter a little bit and having interacted with him a little bit, what was interesting? I would say it this way. The way I would choose to play that music is exactly the way Carter plays that music. And I haven't gotten that with any other band or any other drummer ever in 67 years, right? So
Right.
to me, I would look at them and go, man, the part he's playing right here is exactly how I would texturally compose it and play it. So to me, that's what keeps me coming back because I identify with it so much.
Yeah. Were you blown away watching Carter on that big ass drum kit that he has? Because obviously most bands don't have a drum kit that size. When you saw it, did you know, like from hearing, because you're a percussionist. So did you already have yourself prepared to go, I'm going to check out what he's doing back there?
Yes, but it's not so much the size of it because I'm a big, again, going back to the 90s and early 80s, a Neil Peart fan, right? So I was a Rush addict at the time, loved it all, still do love it. And even in his death, I still appreciated it being perhaps the number one drummer ever lived.
Mm-hmm.
But what he and Carter have in common is the musicality of it. So that even though there's a large kit in front of him, he's playing on tempo blocks and cowbells and bells of cymbals and things of this nature, which it has all these drums in front of him, and he's
all over.
Right? So that is the musicality of how he makes the drums speak to the music.
Mm-hmm.
For me.
I love how you worded that. So you can tell that you love it, but also that you have, that you're a musician. Just, I love listening to musicians speak because you do hear it and see it in a different way. I just recently shared a video on social media that was a professional classical musician she had never heard about the Dave Matthews Band. So she was coming in fully blind. She had never heard their music, never heard of them.
I think I saw.
So for the very first time, she listened to The Stone. And the way she was able to break it down is a lot like what I hear when you are speaking. Just you explain it in a far different way than most other people. And I enjoy it. And that's kind of the cool thing about hearing different perspectives about essentially the same thing is we are all pulling very different things from all of this. And it just, again, it makes it so fun to talk with other fans. One of the things that I had my kids, of course, my sons with me at Jazz Fest, and their takeaway from the whole thing, matter of fact, my best friend was with me too, Leah, her takeaway as well was, I'm glad we had each other being our first show because we didn't feel like we could even really be part of y'all's conversations because all you talked about was the band and, what version and what song and different this and that's about the band. I can see that, but I'd never realized that when we're amongst other fans, that is what we do. We talk about the music all of the time. Do you find yourself in those situations?
You want to go ahead?
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I do. It's interesting with the group that we had, the dynamic we had, which is probably a dozen to 15 people. Mm-hmm. A lot of the guys would be in the back of our crowd that we were together with. I was sitting in the back, kind of being a little reserved. And it was so funny. As the music amped up, the first kind of bell tones that would come out between Stefan on the bass or whatever. Like, oh, this comes Crush. No, this is going to be this. It's going to be this. So we all bet each other basically without funds involved of what the next tune would be based on our experiences of what we're hearing for the first. It was like name that tune and amongst the creative aspect of ourselves and who could name it first, right? And so I was happy to think that I could do most of them because I know a lot of those bell tones. So
yes,
I love those dog whistles, if you will, of their music.
It's a game that I enjoy. Barbara, do you enjoy playing the game?
I'm getting better. I'm getting better at it. I will tell you, the first years of going to concerts was, it's a big sensory overload. It is, I'm looking at the people, the crowd. It's such, and you're going like, how can you have all these people in one spot and everybody's just so chill and everybody's just so wonderful? Like my head was on a swivel and just watching, something's going to happen. Something's going to go wrong. And then the music starts and I was just like, everybody knows every word to every song. And I'm not there yet. I have some studying to do. And so every time we go back, there'd be maybe one or two more songs I'd be able to halfway sing along with, or hear a couple of notes and go, oh, I know that one. And it would be exciting. And, and then I felt like, oh, I'm becoming part of the club, but that I've, it's like I'm one of them almost,
You know what I think too is very important about this band is that the casual observer, the folks who've been to maybe 5 or less concerts that don't know the lyrics can emotionally emote a certain gravitas that pulls them into that band versus somebody who's been to now, the next show is 90, right, shows that I'm looking for the textural implications. I'm looking for the musicianship of it. So it goes from soup to nuts from how people consume that music. So I can be next to the person right next to me, enjoying it the same way, but in a different fashion.
Yes.
Which I think is amazing.
It's a beautiful thing.
I haven't found a band yet that can do that within our group, if you will.
No, I haven't either.
The overall, the joy that you feel. I mean, you feel the joy in every single person there, just truly happy to be there.
It's a good vibe.
So good.
Happy to be spending this time with people who are just as crazy about the Dave Matthews Band as you are. It's just almost like a little, well, not a little, but a big homecoming. I've never met this person before, but we're all part of this like Dave Matthews Band family of people who just love the band.
Right. It's amazing how, and this still floors me, how, however many people are there, let's say 30,000 people, just for a nice number, from all different walks of life, from all different backgrounds, from all over the world. We've come together. We don't really know anything about each other, but we know one thing about each other, and that's that we both love this band. And honestly, I have found that that's all we need is one thing to get us talking. And that gets us to getting to know other people. And it's been such a great adult way to meet people because, it is hard to meet people just in general life because we go to work, or we're retired, we're staying home. And so, this has been such a great way to meet people that I just have something in common with them off the bat. And so it's very easy to speak to people because I know that they want to talk about the Dave Matthews Band. So there's just an easy in there. And I think it's really beautiful just how many different backgrounds can be there and beliefs and religions and cultures and all of that. But yet we are all in this space for 2 or 3 hours and we all are peaceful and loving and kind and compassionate and sympathetic and empathetic and all the feels that are going on there where I have just never seen something like this before, where so many different kinds of people can come together and be okay with each other. It's just been beautiful.
And the age difference. I mean, you can't really just somebody asked what's the demographic, and it's just a spectrum of
it
young
is
to us,
right? It's multi-generational.
It is to have to perform an art that transcends one particular age group is how they captured that, how they created that is very, very interesting to me. That right. Yes, that kid who's 12 years old could be sitting there listening with his parents, and then hears us on the almost 70 end of the spectrum having that same joyous, experience. So it's a pretty cool phenomenon.
It's remarkable, actually.
It really is. It really is. I listened to an interview the other day. I find all of these YouTube things. YouTubes will be your best friend when you're trying to dig into the history of the Dave Matthews Band because there's so much footage from every decade that they have performed. But I listened to an interview just recently, and Dave was talking about, his music, and I enjoy listening to his take and his why he did things a certain way. And he was so excited that on, basically all of his songs, he says some of his songs he wrote and he had really no attachment to it. There was no particular reason why he wrote about that. It was just what he wrote about it. And then there are songs where he did purposely put, emotion or passion or a story in it that he had experienced. And he said, the beautiful thing about all of that is, I did have this story for this song, but because it's art, it can be interpreted in very different ways. And he explained how much he enjoys that his music is not just defined. You define in your own head what it is, because that's what art is. You can define what that means to you and how it makes you feel. And so I like the fact that he is in tune with what the fans are doing, and that he really digs that, because we all do break apart songs a little different, and the way that we interpret it or the way that it makes us feel. So guys, I really want to jump into, we know that you went to Jazz Fest for that first one, but we also heard you say that you're almost to 90. So how do you go from 1 to 90? And Barb, at what point did you jump on the bandwagon and say, okay, let's do it?
Well, it was, the kids were doing their summer thing, traveling with their little musical groups and stuff. And it got to be where, okay, we have an RV, they are doing their thing. And in the town that they're going to be, there's also a Dave Matthews Band concert. So, we would kind of
We've been to so many obscure towns. We've done Noblesville. We've done, Cayuga Falls. We've done Alpine, Red Rocks. Of course, we've been to Gorge and anywhere in between, including Mexico 2 or 3 times now. So it's been just an awakening and just a joy to be able to follow them. But most of that was based on the RV initially, and now we'll travel. We'll get on a plane. Now we're a little older, right? The RV's gone, kids are gone. So we'll get on a plane, and we've done a lot of stuff in the East Coast, like Long Island, Camden, all the stuff in Jersey, some of New England area, and of course in the Southeast, Savannah, Charleston, Raleigh,
West Palm Beach,
Alpharetta, Raleigh, you name it. We've done it all, right? So
you guys are so lucky on the East Coast.
Within driving distance, we'll go.
God knows how much I've spent on this, though, to get to 90. I always think about that going.
I feel you. I'm at 70, and I'm like, Jesus, I could have probably bought any kind of car I wanted.
Really?
Yeah, so it's like, when you really have to think about it, you tend to not think about it after a while, because it's like, oh, what have we done? What happened?
Yep. Don't ever write that shit down, because you don't want to know the numbers.
So I don't count. I'm not a counter. It's like I can name some places I've been, but did I sit there and put hashtags, this
check off the boxes?
I just, everyone that I go to, and at different phases. Before I was retired, it was, maybe I was a little exhausted at the show, and it was just the music washing over me, and just the way it felt.
Yeah.
Till COVID happening, and then we had this time where we're all stuck at home, but we had our means to bring the concerts home to us via YouTube or whatever.
Yes.
And going, okay, this is an opportunity. Now I can get into those lyrics that I've been I had a hard time hearing what he was saying, honestly, unless the words were in front of me. I wasn't getting it, but the music was great. Mm-hmm. And then once unlocked the lyrics, I'm an English teacher, so analyzing literature and poetry and just writing in general stories, which I call, he's more of a free verse kind of writer. That's when I was like, I want to know more. I have to know more. I would find myself reading lyrics to songs as much as I was listening to it.
I think that's important with this band, because these guys have something to say, and they say it. I mean, let's talk about Don't Drink the Water. That was purposely written the way that it sounds, because he wanted it to sound that way. That was something else that he talked about, is one of his favorite songs, and he breaks it out, and it's like, wow, he is really just putting it out there in a way that you understand.
It's the perfect double negative.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So he's singing about something, being so defiant about it, being so proud of it in the stance of our politics now. But if anybody ever listens to it, it's 180 degrees opposite of that. Yes. So that is a very genius way of producing a song.
It is putting a mirror in your
it's
face.
A mirror. Yeah.
Yes. And it once I did really understand the lyrics, it was like you feel uncomfortable, but art is supposed to make you feel, right? So exactly. I'm joyfully singing along to this song, and I'm like, we're singing it and it's like, it's awful. It's awful. It's awful. The words we're singing are awful. And then, but then there's that mirror that's that making you feel that, yes, this thing that this character, it's not David, it's this character is singing in the song is showing you just how awful that person is.
I'm glad that you picked up on that. He's playing a character in that song, and because that was something he talked about. He said, I'm the bad guy in that song. I wanted to be the bad guy in that song to really push what the narrative is. There's one of the trivia questions that I use often, and I love it because it, again, reminds people what this song is. So the question goes like this. What song alludes to Native Americans' persecution upon the arrival of the Europeans? Now that sounds like a mouthful, but that's exactly what that song is about, is, going as far back as people just taking from people. And I love that he sings that as often as he can. I think it's such a powerful song. But again, all of his songs, and there are some fun ones out there, but most of his songs have such a purpose. And at least in my heart, in your heart, we found whatever meaning we pull out of it. And I have just found such wisdom in his lyrics. He writes as if he's an 85-year-old man, truly, with just all of this vision of the past and how things should be. He's just such a beautiful writer. And I enjoy hearing that from you because, you do like to read lyrics and poetry and analyze, like, what is the meaning of that? Can you name a song off the top of your head? And you did not know I was going to ask this, so it's okay if you don't have an answer. But is there any song that you've...
Well, first off, let's finish off that topic of that song, because that was the first, if you think about it in history, that was in this country, that was the first issue of colonialism. Because that's what that's all about, right? I mean, we use that verb or that term now, actually not a verb, but it's a term of conquest and colonialism, and how we've done that to other nations, not only to our own people here in the country, but also to other nations. So I think you could take that and not only use it for the Native Americans or the peoples who were in this land, but also to how we look at everything, including today's politics. So.
Get ready to turn up the volume. The Eddie Casino Band dropped their debut single, Eddie Casino, on YouTube last fall. And don't miss out on what's next. Lucky to Be Me drops this summer. Stay tuned on all platforms. Follow the groove and hit up their Instagram and YouTube channel now to hear the track that's got everyone talking. Go check out the Eddie Casino Band.
100%.
Look at the lyrics, and I have a hard time like picking a song. Like, let's just be clear. But a theme that I see in a lot of his songs, and being an English teacher and looking at literary analysis, one of the literary elements that is a common theme is juxtaposition in his song. He always puts black next to white, or big next to small. The song, you're going to help me, John. Where he's talking about, me with my names of songs, but
I can help you.
You can help me. It's the one where
like the complemental couple, he knows and
he helps me. He helps me.
It's a good thing.
I'm a baby Dave fan, and he's like the big grown up Dave fan. But the one where he's talking about, it's a series of juxtaposition. It is the
lying in the park on a beautiful day, sunshine in the grass, and the children play. Boom, there it is.
There's your juxtaposition, but also the soldier taking his last breath when his baby's being born.
Yeah.
I mean,
right there.
Yeah. I mean, that, and just, I love how he plays with nostalgia, and it makes you imagine what kind of a beautiful childhood he must have had. Mm-hmm. All of these nostalgic things, Old Dirt Hill, just that, remembering all of these fun times and all that a kid, he lived as a kid. I mean, that is obvious in his songs, that joy comes from what great parents he must have had that raised him and just fed his soul and let him be the creative person that he is. I mean, that is obvious when you start looking at lyrics and you start thinking about what's important to him, and And like you said, he says he doesn't mind people interpreting in different ways, and I could be interpreting in a completely different way than he intended, but he's okay with that. Like your connection to that song is what you need it to be. And
what you make of it.
And what you make of it. And just seeing that beauty and, I want a coffee table book. This is what I want.
The lyrics of Dave Matthews' coffee table book.
Lyrics, pictures of, of the words he wrote scribbled on a piece of paper.
Yes.
And then snapshots of what he was thinking about when he wrote it.
Yeah, just his talking about it, and it could be, I don't know, that wasn't really what I was thinking. I just think the words came to me and I wrote them down. Right. It could be as simple as that, but knowing that as a fan would be cool. And a little QR code to bring you to a performance of it.
Oh,
to me, that would be
Barb, there's your retirement project.
The dream. Somebody do it for me. I'm too busy traveling.
You're too busy watching them to write a book about them.
Unless Dave wants, to put me on one of his tour buses where I could,
a documentarian.
And document the whole ask questions in between sets.
Don't all of us want to be a reporter and ask those questions in an intimate, around a campfire while we're cooking s'mores, be like, okay, so let's talk about this song. What were you doing with this song?
So that would be amazing. There's my Seinfeld Kramer coffee table book moment right there.
Even back in 91, he was always much older than his years. Right?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Even
old soul.
When he was writing these lyrics.
As a 20-something-year-old, right? Old soul. He's 50, 60 when he's writing it in his 20s.
Yes. Grave digger, dig my grave.
So it's
shallow,
so I can feel the rain.
If one of my students wrote that on a piece of paper, I was going to stop school right now. You're going to go write, and that's what you're going to go do.
Yes,
run. So
that is so very interesting.
I'd want to bring them back. I would want to know, what was your school life like? English classes. What were you reading? What was making you, maybe you didn't like to read. Maybe you didn't like to write. Maybe you found that later. I don't know, but I'd be interested to find out, what kind of writer he was. When did he come into his writing? At what age was that he saw? Somebody said, that's good, kid. That's a really nice job. A+ on that. Where was that moment for him?
Right.
The breakthrough.
The breakthrough moment. That's right. Unfortunately, his parents have passed. His mother, recently passed. And that would have been such a great interview to speak with his mother. And because she could have told that story of, this is what I remember when he was 5 or 6, he just did these things, and she would be able to see the progression and how he turned into him and why he wrote the way he did. I like to believe that she would be able to unfold that story probably better than he would, just because she was paying so much attention, as a mother does, right, through all of the years. I know that you guys have another obsession, and we talked about that when we first started. How in the world did you ever hear of the Dave Matthews Tribute Band?
Well, that's interesting, isn't it?
Yes, it is. You want to go with that one?
Yeah. I saw them for the first time in Savannah. And this is probably 2, 3, 4 years ago, whatever it's been now.
Maybe
it's at least 3.
At least 3.
And so I said, man, these guys are pretty talented. I mean, they're soldiering on, playing the music. They're very stalwart. I don't know if I could play the same music that's not my music every night. So again, I go back to musicianship, right? And so I just appreciated the craft that they produced. And I said, you guys are just fantastic. I stopped them after the show. I was talking to Tim and then to Gary. And then, and of course, some of the pieces have interchanged over the last 2 or 3, 4 years. And but the core is there, right? Tim is there. Gary, obviously, there's no band without Gary. And then Dave has been in and out with Benny. And for those who don't know all the names of these guys. And so I became really good personal friends with them. And so we have been seeing them now for the last 2, if not 3 years. They played I hired them to come play Barbara's retirement party. And so throughout the years, we'll be having another birthday party for her on the 22nd here in Savannah. And they're staying over at our house as they did last year. And Gary's been known to, he shares the same beliefs I do. Plenty of Blanton's whiskey, bourbon, and cigars. So I
Yeah.
got everything you need. So come on down, right? So we get on the back porch. He pulls out his guitar, and all of a sudden it starts at 11, and we look up, it's 3 a.m. So he's been playing for 4 hours, singing to us. I'm singing to him. He's singing to me. We're sitting side by side like Barbara and I are doing right now. So there was a kindred spirit there that with him in the band, and I guess through maybe alcohol and cigars, right? So there is I think it's also the musicianship. I think once they start to quiz you, it didn't take long for a musician to know a musician, right? So that's a huge part of it. And so they're, like I said, they'll be coming back and staying with us in 2 weeks from tonight. So we look forward to it. Right on the back porch, right out here. And we encourage you now, I'm putting you on the spot. You got to be here or be square, as the kids would used to say 25 years ago.
I think it's be there, be square.
Be there, well, whatever it is. I get this wrong. And so we encourage it because it is the show that'll be in Savannah from, like, say, 8 to 10. We'll have to, unpack, unload, load everything up, come back over here. So the after party will begin here maybe around 12 and maybe go to 3 until everybody has to go to sleep and then wake up and head over to Charleston, right? An hour and a half north of us for their show on Friday afternoon. So it's been a great relationship with them. I feel like, again, whether it be Abe in and out of the band, Noah, Ryan, who was there before, the keyboard player who comes and goes every once in a while. And then David and I and his dad probably hit it off 3 years ago really well. They've sort of taken ownership of the band. I'm a business owner myself. So for them to be able to keep it together and move it forward in a productive mode really interests me of how they do that from a business structure. So we love them. And as a matter of fact, we're going on tour with them, so to speak, right? Starting Saturday night in Daytona. We'll be seeing 8 shows in the next 10, 12 days of theirs. So Dave himself is not coming down to Florida. We'll be there. We'll see you in St. Pete, I think, and or maybe Stewart as well, right? So I'm not sure where we'll be hooking up. But we'll be doing those shows. And so now we'll be driving the entire time, diving during the day, seeing shows at night, and it's going to be lots of fun, I think.
Lots of fun.
Yeah, we look forward to it. 2 days away. We are on the road.
That's so exciting.
Yes.
And
I was the luckiest girl in the world having a retirement party with a Dave Matthews tribute band playing. It was, people are still.
It was off the hook.
It
for sure.
was.
In
fact, I brought props. This is Barb Fest, the final tour. This was the name tags for the guest picked.
Oh my gosh.
So it was this whole concert theme. There was a little QR code on the back for them to upload their pictures from the party. So everybody was taking pictures. It was all like we set the band up on inside. There was an inside structure for the band to play, and outside it was just a festival feel, tents and fringe and flowers, and we had light up tulle skirts and light up headpieces. I had these little, the typical what you give your friends at concerts.
Yeah, the
little bands made up with Barb Fest, the final tour, the Dave Matthews tribute band things.
Oh my gosh.
I took the theme and I ran with it. I said, you tell me we have a band. The band has a name. So now we have a theme.
Yes.
It's going to be Barb Fest is going to be, even the invitation had like reference to Dave Matthews Band lyrics in it. My beautiful, beautiful faculty that I worked for, just the whole, like my last little school luncheon with them made this whole tribute to me. They rewrote the words to Crash, like all the lyrics, but to me, and they sang it. It was, but they sang it, and it was like the biggest. It was the biggest. Like they know me, and they took this song and they rewrote the lyrics for me. It was so special. Our guidance counselors, neighbors, husband, somebody. Her name is Kate Capshaw. Anyway, she wrote this the guidance counselor made this piece of artwork that was very reflective of everything that I love, and it cherished a lot of Dave Matthews lyrics in there. And on the back was this whole little poem written with nothing but Dave Matthews lyrics on the back. It was so special. So him hiring the band that, we knew the music was going to be great, and allowing me to carry that theme through. And then my faculty, teacher friends and principal, like really taking it to the next level with my final luncheon. It was a very special time.
Yes, so, yeah. You are so loved. You are so loved. How incredible.
I was so loved. It's like, that Dave, that my passion or love for this music and lyrics could be part of that made it even more special. It was just
absolutely,
a good time.
Absolutely. So if you're listening to this on a podcast app, just know that this and several of my episodes, almost all of them, except for the very beginning, are on YouTube. And so you can watch this. And Barbara has sent in some samples of the things that she was just talking about. So that way you can see how they changed Crash into lyrics for her. You can see pictures of the party, pictures of the band. I've enjoyed looking at those, so I know you will too. So it's just simply under the Space Between Podcasts on YouTube. Definitely check that out. And while you're there, subscribe to the channel so you know when new episodes come out. So let's see. Let's talk about 2025. That is the year we are. And it sounds like it's the year of the Dave Matthews Tribute Band for you guys, right? Or are you seeing?
Dave's not coming down to the Southeast.
No.
Yeah, we're going to see him.
We had tickets to.
Well, a couple things. We because we're divers, right? We've been blessed with a visa. We're going to be diving June 22nd. We're traveling to Cuba.
Oh my goodness!
And so we're going to be one of the few Americans to get to go to Cuba. I think there's like 125 per year that get to go. Wow. And so I'm going to be doing videography and underwater photography in the Gardens of the Queen.
Gardens of the Queen. It's
right.
Very pristine.
Yeah. Because as we know, in Cuba, area. you cannot have a motorized vehicle, right? A boat. So this is 60 miles offshore that basically has never been fished, never been swam in, never been dove. And so there's a liveaboard boat. So we go get on this boat and for 4 or 5 dives a day, eat, sleep, dive for a whole week and get to experience this. That is one of the most virginal spots left on the planet. Yeah. So what happens is we'll be going to Charleston on Friday night to see Dave. We got tickets for Saturday night, but we're going to have to sell them or give them away because we'll be on a plane heading to Cuba. So
that sounds like
we got to mix
trade-off.
both passions to make it even. Yeah, we'll be missing that one. Also, the Alpharetta show, and I think maybe the Raleigh show. So we're having to liquidate those tickets, and then since he's not coming down to Florida this year, it is the DMTB tour through all of Florida, Carolina, and so we're doing that. So and I you know what's interesting? There is, again, back to the music. There is a certain innocence that's captured in DMTB's music because of the violin or the fiddle, depends on what side of the bench you're on. And so there's really a 90s quality to that music, the way it's rehearsed, the way it's produced. And so I enjoy both the 2025 DMB versus what I consider the 90s version of DMTB. Mm-hmm. So it's cool to have the spectrum on either end.
It really is. Because, and I love to explain this, what their mission is to pay tribute to the sounds of the original quintet. And sneaking a little bit into the 2000s is where they focus. And so if you are listening to this and you're like, I miss the sound of the fiddle, which a lot of people say, I miss Boyd, I miss that era of the band. Well, they can be what fills your heart. That is what fills their heart. That's really what they focus on. And they really don't shy away from that. They are in a groove and they're sticking with it. And here's another great thing about the tribute band. People always talk about, how much would it cost to have the Dave Matthews Band come and do like a private show for us? Well, the answer is, I think we just looked it up. It's $3 million or something. It's in the millions, right? To have them come and do like a show for you. But guess what? the Dave Matthews Tribute Band is way more affordable, and they will come and do private shows just like they are doing for John and Barbara. So if you're thinking ahead and you're like, you've got a special holiday or a special birthday, something coming up, and you're like, that is the only thing that's missing is live music. If you love the original sound of the Dave Matthews Band, look up thedmtb.com. Check them out. There are a million videos on YouTube. Of course, they have a huge following on Instagram and Facebook, and I believe they're even on TikTok. So definitely check them out. I cannot endorse them enough. And of course, that's why we're partners. But John and Barbara are they're seconding that yes, they are worth your time to look into.
Absolutely.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. We were fortunate for when they came for my party that it was part of their swing, their tour. So it was a good proximity for them to be able to come and do that. So we were really, really lucky. So anybody planning to have them kind of look at their tour and see where can you squeeze that party in when they're coming to a city near you.
That's right.
I think they're also great. I think they're tremendous, great stewards of the music. And I think the stewardship is really what's near and dear to their heart. The authenticness of it and how they relate to their audience is paramount. So I think they do a great job.
They're interesting in another way that they let you request your song. What song are you chasing? Because they really want to give the fans the experience that that you want to have. And so, but a couple days before they are in said place, they will put out a Facebook post, an Instagram post, and go, what do you want to hear? And, we could possibly put that on the set list. And I find that so interesting and beautiful in a lot of different ways that, we are all chasing something when it comes to the Dave Matthews Band, because their catalog is so large that you are just likely to not hear your favorite song, especially if it's a deep track of some sort. I have been forever trying to get Crazy Easy. I don't think that will ever happen with the Dave Matthews Band, but guess what? All I had to do was tell the Dave Matthews Tribute Band that I was chasing that. Boom, they did it for me. And it was beautiful. Oh. And it just made me so happy to think that they would listen to me, and they'll listen to you, and they'll listen to whoever shows up for them, because they really do appreciate their fans. Not saying that, anybody else doesn't, but it's just a little bit more personal because they're so approachable, right? Like, I'm not going to be able to walk up to Dave or Carter, or I don't have that ability, but I do have the ability to walk up to Gary and talk to him, who is their Dave, if you will. They actually do have a Dave in the band, and he's the drummer, and he's amazing. He owns said band, and he's been such a great steward of running the ship and really just keeping them afloat, because they are all over the place. They are so sought after. They are from coast to coast, all over the United States, traveling, making people happy, and they love what they do, and you can tell. They're also, of course, fans of the Dave Matthews Band. The only thing I like to laugh about, it was the very first time I interviewed them, was in Springfield, Missouri, which is only like an hour and a half away from me. So I went up and I did like official interviews and talked to them about like, why are they there? How did they get started? Gary told me that everyone in high school used to tell him, you sound like that guy, Dave Matthews. And here he is, being the Dave Matthews of the Dave Matthews Tribute Band. But their stories are great. And Noah, I like to bring Noah up because he's probably the baby of the band. Would you agree? Okay. Yeah. He's pretty young. I don't know how old, but like 20 something. I asked him on our first interview, and again, I didn't know anything about their personal lives. And I said, well, Noah, you have nailed the music as a saxophonist. You have really brought, everything out, and you've done it perfect. And you really have channeled the Leroy sound, because that's what we need if we're going to truly take the sound from, the originals and the early 90s. And so I asked him, I said, how long have you been following this band? Like, how long have you known about them? And he looked at me and looked at the camera. And I love this interview. It's available on YouTube if you want to watch it. He just looked at me and said, well, didn't really know about them, but I can read music. And so I'm here. I was like, what? How do you just get up there and play perfectly? But again, it's musicianship. And I know that since then he has grown to love the band. He's loved to love the music, but also he's gotten to know, of course, the fans of the Dave Matthews Band. And he sees that he's bringing such joy, and in his young little self, he's bringing such joy to people. And he's such a genuine soul. He's very, very talented. And he's a pleasure to watch. But I like telling that story because I assumed that like his parents brought him up on the Dave Matthews Band, and he was like, nope, I'm good at what I do.
Well, when you were talking about they'll take the requests and what do you want to hear, John can tell you the interesting story of how we came up with our set list.
Yes. How did you?
Instead of them just saying, yes, we're going to show up and we're going to play our set of music for you, it was, here, tell us what you want to play. And it took us how many months?
We started off with 90 songs and got it down to 75. And the first 90 to 75 down to 60, we were in Cancun doing the Dave and Tim tour. That would be oh my gosh, that would be February before the May, right?
We did 22, 23, 24.
Yeah, so the February, the President's Day weekend before the May that they were going to perform for us. And so we got it down to 60, and I said, oh, geez, we're still not there. I mean, my God. And so we got it then down to 50, then down to 45. And I said, we're not making any headway here. This is just tough. And so we finally got it down to 30 songs, 35 or 30 songs. And I said, they're never going to play this many songs, man. There's just no way. If it's a jam band situation, you're going to have soloists and all this other stuff. So we got it down to like 27, 25.
25 with 2 encore songs.
Yeah, so even that would be more than 2 hours worth of music by far, right? Almost 3. And then we curated it, or I guess I did, in the order that I wanted to hear them in.
That was him.
Yeah, and so I literally, for those who are out there who are diehard fans, know that they have to play Nancy's Warehouse. And anybody who knows what Nancy's Warehouse is, it is back to back, right? So it has to be the way it has to be. And it has to be with a lot of break in Warehouse. So here we go, like that. So there's a certain amount of cues to me that have to be there that you would only know that by seeing them live. It's not in the studio album at all. It is something that's been organically created over time through live shows. And you got to think this too, Renae, how many bands have this many live albums through tracks? I mean, dozens of live albums. So every time they press record at a concert, boom, there's another album if they want to make one, right? True. So you got to give E for effort because they're constantly putting themselves on live audio for people to hear and then hopefully see even, right? And so we did this and we produced a song and it was her favorites, perhaps my favorites as well. And they had a curated order specifically. And there's got to be one song above all that has to be the opening song. And I'll ask you to guess what you think it should be.
Well, that's not fair because I've seen what the set list was, but I'm trying to think, can I remember?
Oh, my goodness.
Because again, she sent me, and I'm pretty sure, Barbara, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure you sent me like all of the
iterations,
like the process of how you got it down to 25.
Yeah, the last 3.
Hi to the listeners of the Space Between podcast. Special thanks to the fabulous Renae Lipsmeyer for offering the opportunity to talk about an organization creating great change. It's me. Hi, I'm Carolyn Markle, and I'm the founder and CEO of SafeInHarmsWay.org. I'm a survivor of domestic violence, and my organization was born out of a profound understanding of the unmet needs faced by those escaping abuse. Because we've got a problem with domestic violence across the world. And in the United States alone, close to 60% of the population experiences some sort of intimate partner violence in their lifetime. What compounds that problem? 40% of the calls to the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence go unanswered. And in cities everywhere now, shelters are at capacity and funding has disappeared. At Safe in Harm's Way Foundation, we were made for this moment in time. We do not take any federal funding, which allows us to pivot where needed to directly address the issues that are most affected by any person navigating violence. So check us out for yourself, for someone you work with, for someone you love. SafeInHarmsWay.org. Online solutions 24/7 for the most intimate choices you'll have to make in your relationships.
But the first song never changed, and it's
I
the
don't
Stone.
know. Oh, okay. What
The Stone.
a starter. Oh,
Yeah,
that just
because
sets the tone.
we got to hear the bass guitar, the bass drum, and the Barry sax and fill the room.
Yeah.
So it is one of those things that it's almost guttural in its effect on people. So again, back to music, right? And how it affects on people. And and of course, one of my personal favorites, which is a favorite to a lot of people, which you would find that, geez, John, you'd have more deep cuts. I think the lyrics to 41 are just amazing because it's not about what you think it is.
No.
Yeah, it is totally written to his manager, which it sounds like a lost love who he's talking about, right? So the juxtaposition between those lyrics and Barbara gives, he's talking about a dude that he's divorcing in his management team, right? So I'm going, no, this is about a girl. It's got to be about a girl. Come on. But it's not.
Maybe it is.
And maybe it is. Maybe it's double entendre. Who knows?
Maybe
Yeah.
it is.
Who
Maybe
really
it's
knows?
Cleaning out a lot.
Dave was actually talking about 41 in this interview that I keep talking about. And I'm pretty sure that he said he had no clue what 41 was about. Now, I don't know if that's true or if that's what he says.
I've read many articles about his manager and getting away from his manager. So it's like, okay. But it's such a love song, a sick puppy love song that, I can't resist it. And the lyrics are so, I guess the juxtaposition of the lyrics is so just, it's pure poetry, which sometimes poetry doesn't mean anything, it's jumbled up. But man, just the verse of it is just incredible,
And just
really
there's
is.
nothing repeating.
No, it's just on and on and on and on and on and on.
It's just, and it ends.
Yeah.
Right.
It's interesting.
Right.
It's
Or
an
it goes
interesting
into jam.
song. I can't think of another song like that out there that does what 41 does.
Yeah.
And is successful.
Right.
It's pretty cool.
But the power stuff, Stone, two-step, Warehouse, all that stuff will get everybody moving. I mean, it's great music. Yeah, it's fantastic. So we love it.
So when you were specific about Warehouse, do you get specific as saying, I want Warehouse with the woos or no woos?
Oh yeah, absolutely. We actually installed it in there on the sideline of it. So, and it has to come right after. It has to come out. It was really interesting. We had Dancin' Nancy's, which has been played many times by DMB himself, the way they've structured it. Not all the time lately, but maybe 10 years ago, 15 years ago. So it was. And then we would change the meter and the tempo of the show, right, through the set list. So right after those two powerful, Nancy's kind of soft and then going into Warehouse, and then we'd come right back in Typical Situation and, just anything, Mercy. And that we would just blend it up and down and up and down. A little song, then a whole lot song, a little bitty song, and it's a big song. So as he's quoted many times in his concerts, a little bitty song.
It's
right?
a little song.
Just a little song.
It's a little song. It's a little song. He says that so much, and I love it because it's never a little song.
We have a set list similar to that. So, and listen, DMTV did it perfectly and knocked it out of the park. Yeah. Awesome.
I will cherish that forever.
Oh my gosh.
Awesome.
I just keep thinking about the Stone, and that sax in the Stone, like that beginning, just like, I can't even do it because it's so deep, but like that will stop people in their tracks. Like, what the hell, in a good way? Like, what is about to happen here? And that is such a story. Like, all of that song is it's just my favorite. And I like to tell the embarrassing story, but maybe from a musician standpoint, I don't know. This is like the level of fan I am, if there's levels. Last time I heard, well, it wasn't the last time. Specifically, I heard the Stone at SPAC. And, most people would just listen to it and be like, okay, here we go. I'm going to listen to it. And I did every note of it. But what I did before I really started listening was go beep. And I timed that song because you never know what you're going to get with the Stone as far as the length of it. And that particular time, it was 17 minutes. 17 minutes.
Yeah.
Wow.
I
lot
love
of jam
it.
to that song.
Oh, I love it when they just go off the rails, and just show me everything. Like, show me every note you can play and every move you got. I want it all. And there's never enough time at a concert, right? That's what I always say after I leave a show is I just wanted more, like one more or two more. It's never enough time. And it would be nice to have unlimited time, unlimited, or at least more than 2 hours. But that is something that, again, you can get with the tribute band, is a little more time and a little more direction in saying, hey, here's what I'd like to hear. And they just love to make people happy. So again, I cannot endorse them enough. They're just so great. And I hope that they continue to grow in their following. I know that they love what they do. And so it's nice to see when people are passionate about what they do as far as career wise. And it's refreshing. And when you see that kind of passion and love for something, you just want them to be so successful. So supporting them and their mission that they have as fans themselves, everybody support them. I think that they're doing great things. And there are other Dave Matthews bands that are paying tribute. I didn't want to say Dave Matthews tribute bands, but there are other bands out there that are also paying some tribute to the early sounds. But I hate to say this, but at the same time, I don't hate to say this. The Dave Matthews tribute band is just blowing everyone out of the water. They're so good. And I have no shame in saying that. Everybody has their place, but man, these guys are just so laser focused on what they want to do. And they are just busting through every barrier that can be out there. Because like you said, you lose people as you go. There's been some switch outs, like Abe, I know is just kind of he's going to be a magical moment if he ever comes back and plays. It's going to be a great thing because everybody knows Abe, but we've lost Abe right now. And then, there's been some switch ups on different things, but we can't lose Gary. Gary is kind of the glue that keeps it all together. He's the voice of Dave, and he does it very well. I've watched him really closely in the way that he speaks, because his natural voice, like speaking voice, doesn't sound like Dave speaking. No. But when he sings, he's able to do something with his jaw, like he kind of extends it out a little bit, which makes him I guess that helps him kind of reproduce that sound. And that's what I kind of found interesting in the interview with him was, how he creates that sound, because singing Dave Matthews Band songs are not easy. We can all agree on that, right?
Right.
So they're so talented.
Yeah, from a lyrical standpoint, because there isn't like a whole lot of repetition or repeating this line or whatever. You really have to pay attention and be in the story. They're telling stories, so you have to know the whole story, be able to sing the story. But also musically, he's just got such a unique sound. And I will say, when we leave the Dave Matthews tribute band concerts, for myself, I can speak for myself, I have that same fulfillment as when I walk away from a Dave Matthews band concert. That's that same, like, oh, that filled a little hole in my heart right now. It's like that. Yeah. That was good. That was awesome. You got to go for 2 hours or more and just really be in the crowd, singing the songs and having a good time with other people. Again, a smaller experience, but it's the same experience.
It's very intimate. Yeah. And I just want to speak briefly before we end this episode about David. David is, like I said earlier, he's kind of the driver of the ship. I know that they all work together as such a team, but David is very focused on the business side. And also he is an amazing drummer. John, can I get an amen on that? Like, he's so good.
Yes.
He's so good.
Yes. So one of the things I'm going to make him do on this whole tour of the 8 to 10 shows that we're going to be on, he's got to play Goodbye at least 2 or 3 times, because we have to see his chops for about 5 minutes displayed before the song actually starts. So I challenge you, Dave, you're going to listen to this, and we're going to have to do this 2 or 3 times in the next week or two. So stay tuned.
So get ready. Get ready, because we're showing
Yes,
up
you're ready.
to watch the Dave Matthews Tribute Band. And I can't wait to see you guys again. It's been so much fun. I feel like the universe has kind of just thrown us together, and you guys are such a hoot. So much fun. Justin and I had a blast hanging out with you guys. And it was one of those things that we kept talking about even after we left New Orleans was, wow, like the Pittmans were so cool. Like we could talk Dave to them and they could talk back, because that's a very important part of the relationships that you build is, can they talk the talk, right? Because I'm attracted to people that can talk back to me. That's the kind of people I like to hang out with, because I'm that level of nerd. And guys, you are up there on the nerd level of the Dave Matthews Band. So congratulations. It's a good thing.
Thank you.
It's a good thing. It's a good thing.
I think we left with you know what? These would be great people to go back to Mexico to see Dave and Tim together. They'd be like the people you'd want to hang out with for 3 days and just talk about the concert all day long, and then go to the concert at night and then talk about the concert.
I love Mexico. I'm a fan. And, we were there. So I know y'all weren't there this year, but last year we were all there together, and we just, we didn't cross paths. But now we do. And so we got to go back and do this thing.
Do you recognize the print?
I do.
Uh-oh. What's happening?
I do.
What's happening?
Uh-oh.
That's 2 years ago, right?
Yeah.
She's modeling for all of us that can see. Tell us about what you are wearing.
So when they announced the concert, they have the marketing and all the pictures and everything. And I thought it was such a cool print, but their concert wear doesn't always match the themes of their shows kind of thing.
Right.
So
their merch is not necessarily 100% on point, but just to be fair about it. I'm a designer, so I could say that.
The fans love it, but I needed something specific. I wanted to celebrate this print.
It's gorgeous.
Our Spanish teacher's daughter was a cool little artist. She can draw anything, so she made this. She took it and didn't make it literal, but a nod to it, a real nod to it. Right. And then I took it. There was a company called, I think it's Arts Cow, and they will make a garment for you out of the picture that you send them. So John had the swim trunks. I had Arts Cow, and they'll make you want to, and they'll make a garment for you. And it's not, wasn't.
Well, you've seen it before.
It's less than what I would pay for something. So I had the one made. I had him one pair of trunks, me one of these. But we got a lot of street cred for wearing our little nod to the theme garments in Mexico.
Mega fans when you start dressing through the theme of the party. Yeah. But that sounds like you, Barb. That sounds like you.
Yes.
Knowing what I know about you, I'm like, this all makes sense.
Oh yeah. So the first 2 years we didn't bring any swag to swap and all the exchange and all that. But year 3, we were on it. We had our bracelets.
Yeah.
Another 3-month journey of what are we going to put on the bracelet? Which lyric? We'd have these conversations. No, couldn't agree. We'll revisit this next week and come back till we found.
It's really competitive in Mexico because everyone does bring swag, and so when you decide to start participating in that, your mission is really to try to produce something that nobody else is going to be passing out, which can be difficult, because there's so many creative people.
I was junior level with my little silicone bracelets, but there were people. There were people that really took it to heart, and some amazing little pieces of swag. I have a bag full of all my little swag because I'm a 12-year-old.
No, I do too. I literally have a whole drawer, and it would look like a junk drawer to most people, but it's every sticker or badge or bracelet that I've ever been given. And I think often what am I going to do with all that stuff? But I would never get rid of it, ever.
Sprinkle it amongst my ashes when I die.
Put it on top of my casket.
Make a collage around Glue it.
Well, there we go. It's been settled what I'm going to do with it. I'm going to tell my husband when he gets home, hey, babe, all that stuff in the drawer, that's for my funeral. He'll be like, what are you talking about?
Everybody grab a piece. We're making a collage and drape it over the. Oh, that's morbid. Anyway.
No, I know. We just like went up all the whole time, and then all of a sudden we're talking about funerals. Hey, it's life. It's part of the process, and we've got a reason for the stuff we're collecting now. So we know what we're going to do.
We have a purpose for it.
Half the battle. Well, guys, I cannot thank you enough. I told you before we ever started recording, we were so worried about do we have a story? And look, we've been talking for an hour and 12 minutes. So yes, you have a story and people are going to enjoy it because it's different than anyone in this whole world's story. So your story is unique. It's your story. So it's personal to you. And I know that, again, people will just get so much enjoyment out of this. So I can't thank you enough for being on this show. I am just super excited that I've gotten to know you guys, and I will see you very soon in Florida. So if you're listening to this and you're like, I'm totally wanting to know more about the Dave Matthews Tribute Band. If you guys are in Florida, now is the time to look into them because they are hitting, like John said, they are hitting Florida because the Dave Matthews Band is not. So they're filling that void there. The Floridians need the live music of the Dave Matthews Band, and they're not going to get it. So the Dave Matthews Tribute Band jumped in and said, hey, we can help fill your heart and soul. And so definitely check them out. Of course, they'll be touring in all of the other places after Florida. And so, again, just be sure to check them out. Guys, again, thank you so much for being willing to share your journey on this show so that other people can hear. It's been such a pleasure. So guys, if you're listening to this on a podcast app, just know again that you can watch this on YouTube as a visual story. So it's under the Space Between podcast. And again, subscribe to the channel so you know when the next episode is coming out. During the tour season, the Dave Matthews Band tour season, I've loaded this all up, and now I'm going to start shooting out episodes. And I have such a library of episodes that have not been released yet. So get ready. There's always amazing things on the horizon. But if you are listening to this on a podcast app, you can do me one favor. Leave a review. And I know you're like, why do I want to leave a review? This is not McDonald's. Well, here's why. When you leave a review, it actually helps push the podcast out to other people of similar taste that may like this podcast. And the thing about this podcast is, if people don't come forward willing to share this journey, this is the end of the podcast. So we definitely know that there are at least 30,000 fans, right, of the Dave Matthews Band. That's the running joke, that 30,000 fans is all they have, but they show up to every concert. So I only have 200 episodes. So that means I have quite a few more fans to interview. So if you're interested in sharing your journey with the Dave Matthews Band, just hit me up on Instagram or Facebook or TikTok and say, hey, I'm interested in being in on your show. And that's all you have to do. You just have to love this band to be willing to share your journey. So I invite you to reach out to me. But guys, in the meantime, I wish you all the best and love, peace, and Dave Matthews Band.